This podcast with Cougars Corner could literally change people's lives. What they are doing, they're doing $500,000 a year on eBay, plus some extra money on Poshmark by selling clothes and pretty much clothes only. Now you're thinking, well, that must work. They must be in a fancy area of the country. No, they're doing it in St. Louis, where people have to defend their homes like this. The car break-in capital of the world. A city who can't even keep an NFL team. They're not doing it in Beverly Hills or the Hamptons or Martha Vineyard or some other fancy place. They're doing it in St. Louis in the Midwest. They don't have any fancy suppliers or hookups. They're doing this 95% with thrift stores. They're doing it with hard work, discipline, consistency, and showing up every single day. If you have these traits, you can copy their system. You can do this yourself. I'm really looking forward to showing you guys this episode. Enjoy the show.
Sean's Fine Show. Sean's Fine Show. Digging deep and making dough. From thrift store gold to eBay flips. He teach fire Tams and killer tips. Buyer, sellers, wheel and deal. Real stories. Keep it real. Snag a bargain. Flip it fast. Sean's Fine Show.
I'm here with Gary and Amy, who go by Cougars Corner. They're on Facebook. Now you're on YouTube. What else are you on?
We have TikTok and Instagram.
I've actually podcasted with you guys before on Rocket City Resellers podcast, the Flip Side Roundtable podcast. So we are kind of familiar with each other. And one thing stood out last time we all podcasted together. We see Gary on social media more than we do Amy. And Amy, I always knew Gary was a savage because I see your guys' numbers and how much you list every single day. But Amy made a comment on that podcast saying how she didn't like going on vacation outside of January because she hated seeing her 90-day total go down. And I'm like, oh, damn, she's a savage too.
Yeah. Man, that number's front and center on everything you do. When you pull it up, it's right there. And like she was saying the other day, when you leave for a few days, or if your sale, you go on time away or something and your sales drop off, that number can drop quick. So
yeah,
like I said, I always knew you're on social media more than she is. So I already knew you were a go-getter. And then when she said that she didn't like going on vacation, and in my marriage, it's the wife who's always wanting to go on vacation. So when she said she only liked going on vacation in January because it affected the 90-day total the least, I was like, oh, so there's two of them.
Yeah. I think she still likes going on vacation. We actually just got our flights booked for one coming up in January next year, but she booked the flights today for it. So
yeah.
Where are you guys going?
We are taking a cruise out of Miami. So
okay.
Yeah.
I proposed to my wife on a cruise out of going that way I call those the Southern Islands. You go to them all and they all look the same to me. So
yeah.
Yep.
But it's good to get away.
Yep. Yeah. So you guys put up killer numbers. Like, I think you're on pace to blow away $500,000 this year on eBay. Is that on eBay or amongst the other stuff too?
Yeah, that's going to be all eBay. That's kind of what we're shooting for, is 500,000. And then we have some Poshmark. We started cross-listing to Poshmark a few months ago with Nifty. It was one of those things that we just never really did. It didn't really fit into anything. And the more we saw other people doing it, and the more folks said that they were having success with it, we just kind of decided to try it out, and it's worked pretty well. So, but I mean, that's only a fraction of what we do on eBay. And we'll also add some numbers for, we have an antique mall booth that we still run. We have some hard goods, some glass and stuff. And then we also have some clothes out there, that like either gets too old for eBay, or, stuff that's, we pick up and then figure out maybe there's a little hole or a little stain that we missed, and is a good candidate to take out there.
Kind of have the exact same strategy. I have a little flea market booth, and
I buy a lot in auctions, so I get a lot of big box lots. And sometimes you buy a box lot because you want one eBayable item and you get stuck with the rest of the stuff. And a lot of that stuff goes to the booth. Or I have a guy who works at a major hat retailer who's in charge of the shelf pulls, and they get sold to me.
There you
And
go.
sometimes there's a flaw on them that it's just not eBay worthy, and I'll throw those in the booth. So it sounds like we have the same strategy to get rid of our lower end items.
Yeah, for sure. That booth has seen a whole lot of weird, different stuff come through. We've had all sorts of ways. That thing has been a really good way to get rid of stuff that we've come across. Like when we did clean outs for estate sales, we had other weird methods to try to get rid of stuff there too, like the smash room.
Yeah.
Tell me about the smash room.
Tell us about the smash room.
So we used to do estate sale cleanouts, and so the goal is to find a place for everything to make money off of it. And so we had a smash room in town, so everything that we couldn't take out to the antique booth or sell on eBay, we would take, and the smash room would buy it from us. And so they didn't like Jesus pictures though.
Yeah, that
was the line.
We had a house that had, a lot of religious like pictures and stuff. And so we didn't offer those up, and they didn't really want them either. So we kind of like took a video or like took a bunch of pictures of stuff that we had. And they're like, yeah, we'll pass on the CRT TV and the Jesus pictures. Can't be smashing him. So
you would think they'd want the CRTV.
I don't know. There's something about like the tubes or something inside, like they couldn't have them.
Oh, I bet they have some weird
like maybe in the dumpster
stuff.
They couldn't do it or something. Yeah. But yeah, we sold a bunch of stuff to the smash room that come out of some estate sales.
We even had a lady come out and dig through. We had a dumpster because we were in the process too of redoing our roof, and she came out and we let her dig through the dumpster for a couple bucks, that everything that we'd thrown away. So
yeah, it's crazy the way you can, get rid of some stuff and, monetize things that people just think might be trash or, that you can't do anything with.
About once a month, I have multiple enclosed trailers because I go to auctions and buy big lots at once. And I have one enclosed trailer that I leave where I just throw stuff that I'm going to go take and set up at like a swap meet or an outdoor flea market. And I just keep it topped off. And most of the time when I set up, everything's $1. Yeah. And I have an 8-foot enclosed trailer with just stuff that I don't want to throw away, but I have no other outlet for. And I just goes there and I put it on the table for $1, and I just keep it topped off, and I drag it to the flea market once a month, and I'll sit there for 4 or 5 hours and do $400 or $500 in 4 or 5 hours. And I do that about once a month. So I try to not throw stuff away, but sometimes you get stuff you have to. But
sometimes you just have to. But like, it seems like there's an outlet for almost anything, really, if you're willing to work to figure out what it is and store it long enough to find someone willing to buy it. So
how many eBay listings? I know you guys are monsters on eBay. How many listings are you up to?
We're over 14,000 right now. And that's going to continue to grow probably, for the foreseeable future. Our goal is to post 60 a day, and we sell somewhere in the 40 to 50 range every day. And so the store grows a little bit each day, just because of those numbers and how that works out. But, our warehouse has I think a full capacity in the shed that we built is around 20 to 25,000, depending on kind of how we set up our shelves and how much room we devote to some of our antique mall stuff. We still have a corner of our warehouse that we use for that. And some of the hard goods on eBay, we have a space for that. But if we wanted to go with just clothes, I think we could probably get to 25,000. I'm not sure we'll get to that point. I don't know how quickly we'll get there, but we're probably a little over halfway full in our warehouse.
So you mentioned your cross listing. Are you fully 14,000 on eBay, and do you have 14,000 on Poshmark? Or
no, not yet. I've been I want to say trickling them over, but I'll do like 50 a day. I'll just go into Nifty and cross list 50 or so from eBay over to Poshmark. And I've been starting with some of our oldest inventory, and that's actually worked pretty well. We've sold some older stuff that's been on eBay, but having cross-listed it to Poshmark, now it's new there. And so we've been able to move some stuff over on Poshmark, which is nice.
Similar story. I move stuff on Poshmark that's been sitting on eBay for sometimes over a year, and it'll sell on Poshmark or Mercari or Depop or one of the others. I think I'm in the same boat. I started cross-listing too late. Now I try to stay 100% caught up with my cross-listing, but I'm still about 4,000 listings behind from where I tend to start from day one. And I kind of wish I would have just spent the money and started at the beginning and stayed fully cross-listed the whole time.
Yeah. I think we'll eventually catch up, but I'm not in a super big rush to get it all cross-listed because I think it does give eBay a chance to sell the newer stuff first. And that's why I haven't started with our new stuff cross-listing. It's because, like I said, I feel like eBay gives us a better opportunity to sell the newer stuff than maybe Poshmark. And maybe we sell it without a promoted listing on eBay, so the fee's slightly less than, the 20% Poshmark takes out. So there's a couple considerations there, but we may eventually get fully cross-listed over there.
I always like to hear when there's full-time, bigger volume sellers, what their daily routine looks like, because I think everyone does it different. And I'm always looking to tweak on mine and make it more efficient. And I'm sure people listening would, are always open for suggestions to tweak their daily routine. What's your daily routine look like as people who list 60 items a day?
So we have it split up. We get up at 5:30 in the morning, and he immediately goes into the office and starts taking offers, accepting offers, sending offers. I make breakfast. Don't get excited. It's just toast. And we eat real quick, and then he comes out and does the shipping. I take care of the dogs, the stuff inside. Once he gets done with shipping, then I will run to town. I switch gyms in town because my gym is right next to the post office, which is right next to Goodwill. So it's all in one trip to town. We live about probably 20 minutes out of town. So for me, that works really well. As I'm in town, he is out in the shed taking pictures usually. I get home usually 10:30, 11, come out. Hopefully I have a bunch of stuff to undo from Goodwill or other thrift stores in town. At that time, he's usually done with taking the pictures of the items. We have lunch, and then he gets started on listings, and I come out and I fold and organize all of the items that he's taken pictures of. And that's most days. Now, 2 days a week, we go out to, we live in central Missouri, St. Louis. We hit St. Louis usually 2 days a week. So on those days, we get up 5 or 5:30, depending on which stores we're going to go to. And we hit those, come home. We usually detag when we get home, and then make a post office run before 5. So,
it's set up to where, we can work together quite a bit, but it's also set up to where it's like in the mornings, I'll be in the shed while Amy's out running errands, doing the post office run, and then we'll flip it in the afternoon and I'll be inside. I do all the listings at my office inside the house while she's in the shed, folding clothes, putting inventory away, processing stuff. Like if we washed clothes or if something needs ironed or buttoned, like she takes care of all that. She might pull items that have sold so far for the day. So there's kind of that flip, like a lot of times, we're in the shed a lot together, but normally over the course of the day, it's usually either me or her that's in the shed. And so that, I think that's important because it kind of gives us the ability to work solo, but yet, we're working together when it comes to all the different duties that come along with what we do. On the weekend, if, like a lot of times Sunday afternoon, we'll do all the shipping to, from the weekend, maybe Friday and Saturday and Sunday sales. We'll be out here together and maybe we'll pull items and work on shipping together or something like that. So there are times where we're working at the same time, but a lot of times through the week, we're split up. One inside, one in the shed.
Keeps a happy marriage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's good balance. Is that 60 listings a day? Is that 7 days a week?
Yes.
Yep. 420 listings a week, and what is it, like 1,800 items a month that we post? And, 60 is one of those numbers that we just kind of grew to, and I don't think that there was any thoughts about, we have to get to that number. And I've talked to a lot of other resellers, especially those just starting out. They see sometimes, maybe they've seen a video or a post that I've made about 50 or 60 a day. And they're like, oh, I want to get to that, or I want to start doing that. And it's tough because if you're starting out, you just don't have that much inventory. And two, your processes aren't refined enough and tightened down enough to do that much. And nobody has to do 60. It's just one of those things that we've been able to maintain for the last several months. And for a long time, we did 40 and then 50. So I think it's just a matter of tightening the process, becoming as efficient as possible, that allows us to get to that number. And honestly, doing that amount has helped increase the number of sales per day. And that's really kind of what we're looking for, is to see how big can we grow it, how much can we do, what kind of is that maximum point that the two of us can do.
I think we both agree, and I think we both share it quite a bit in our videos. We both agree on like consistency and doing every single day listings. Like I preach it and you guys preach it. On your big St. Louis days, do you just draft or schedule ahead and just work a little extra the days before and build a draft bank so you can make your St. Louis days? And I'm sure you don't, or maybe for the weekend, I'm sure you guys may go do something on the weekend and you just plan ahead for those kind of events.
Yeah, that's what we try to do is, we'll get enough stuff pictured and lit drafts, put together so that, like, I've got the 60 that we did for today and the 60 for tomorrow. We're going to go tomorrow to St. Louis and do kind of an all-day sourcing deal. And the 60 that we're going to release tomorrow have already been drafted and scheduled. So they'll just automatically drop onto eBay while we're out. And that's a nice thing about it, is that, we can work ahead and have that draft bank. Ideally, we'd be several days ahead, but I think we're down to a couple days out at this point. It can sneak up on you pretty fast if you're not consistently getting pictures done and getting the listings drafted. But it is nice to be able to have the flexibility to go source or go do something that, we took a couple weeks ago, we took a trip to Branson and was down there for about 3 days. And so we had listings drafted while we were gone. And it was over holiday weekend, so we didn't have to ship out. But it was nice to be able to have those listings come out while we were out riding roller coasters and eating.
I had the exact same strategy. Like, I know there'll probably be one day this weekend that I don't go to the shop at all because my shop's not at home. So I have a 15-20 minute drive to my shop. So I had a little extra time at the end of the day. So I knocked out a bunch of drafts, and tomorrow I'll probably be doing the same thing. And then I'll probably take a full day off this weekend, but I'll be hitting my listing goals every day this weekend because I planned ahead and drafted ahead. And so I think we have pretty much the exact same strategy when it comes to just scheduling our free time and knowing when our free time is going to be. And so we work ahead so we can have this free time.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned going to St. Louis. Is the majority of your sourcing through thrift stores and
this time of year? Yeah, this time of year it is. In Missouri, basically our garage sale time is April and May, and then again in the fall.
Well, I'm in Indiana, so we're probably on the same exact weather almost. So ours has died down in June and July, and then late August I'll pick back up again. So we're on the same schedule.
Yeah,
we try to hit it really hard come April and May, and that's when we've had some of our better garage sales is this spring. And we like to go to a lot of the neighborhood sales because they're usually, better end close, better brand stuff that we like to pick up. And if they're in a neighborhood, then there's usually multiple houses all having sales. And so we can hit them, sometimes we pull up on a street and you can hit 3 or 4 because all the neighbors are having a sale. And those are really convenient because, again, it's just like everything that we do. The more volume, the more stores, the more sales we can hit, the more stuff we're going to find, the better opportunities for, good items to come into our hands is going to be. So we really like to hit neighborhood sales, but there's just only so many that you can get to. And then by June, really, they've kind of died off. then in the fall again, they pick up, and there's kind of like this second little season that we like to hit. I've noticed that a lot of the neighborhoods and houses, like people who like to have garage sales, will have them spring and fall and sometimes in between. So sometimes we're hitting the same house in the spring and the fall.
Mm-hmm.
I think we agree completely on like maximizing your time to try to consolidate your sourcing and not just getting a piece here and a piece here and a piece here and try to get a bunch at once so you can hit those listing goals like 50, 60 items a day. And I pretty much run exactly the same way, minus I'm not doing clothes, but business mind and time wise and systems were very, very similar, I feel like. But what I like about your guys' story, and not to downplay it, because it did take some time to master your niche, but anyone looking to get into this, if they're willing to put in the work, figure out their systems, be disciplined, you can find clothes.
Yeah.
Like every thrift store you go to in the United States of America is like 70% clothes. Like it isn't like you have some secret hookup or like you're like, or Flip Fusion who has this obscure knowledge of machine tools and happens to live in a specific area of country where that pops up. Man, everybody in the country wears clothes, and they're in every thrift store in the country, and you're proven every day that you can do $500,000. I think you're going to beat that with Poshmark and everything added together.
Yeah, I think so. I was jealous to listen to him the other day talk about Flip Fusion, about his knowledge of these different machine parts and the different, just everything that I see at an estate sale or garage sale, and I'm like, oh, I bet this stuff's worth money, and I have zero knowledge about it. And then, we know a lot of other resellers locally that look for stuff like that. And, we'll call a couple other resellers. We got one guy who's really into toys. And so Amy will call him up and be like, hey, there's a bunch of Legos here. There's a bunch of little people here or whatever. And he's done the same thing for us. Like he'll call us and say, hey, there's a bunch of clothes here. So, even though it'd be nice to grab that stuff, it's, like you talked about earlier, it does take time to learn and drill down into a niche and kind of figure out the ins and outs of it. So
you took the time to master it though. And if anywhere in the country, if you take the time to master it and be disciplined and wake up at 5:30 in the morning and with 50, 60 items a day, you're proving that anybody, with the right work ethic could do $500,000 in sales a year. And
isn't that crazy to think that there's clothes just sitting around in your local town, that if you just go and learn some brands and patterns and stuff like that, that you could do enough of it to make that much. It's kind of a crazy hack to think about.
Yeah, there's not many average people jobs out there where you're going to make what you guys are making a year selling clothes and having the freedom to go to Branson for the weekend and still make money while you're at Branson. So it's pretty unbelievable.
But you're right. Like it does take a lot of time, and we made tons of bad buys at the beginning. And
he did. I didn't.
Yeah, never did.
I still make bad buys. So
we probably made bad buys in the last time we went to St. Louis and bought stuff.
Yeah,
and stuff just this weekend. Like there may be stuff that we bought that won't sell for 2 or 3 years. I don't know, but it's weird on eBay. Like a shirt will sell in one day. We could buy that same shirt again, and it would take 6 months to sell. You just never know. It's just the right person comes along at the right time.
What is your strategy on some of those long tail items? Like I'm more of a list it and forget it guy. Now I do use Nifty to delete and relist stuff in the background for me daily, and I have it set up automated where I have it do so many a day. And when it does do that, I have it lower the price to 1% every single time it does it. But I'm pretty much list it and forget it, and it'll eventually sell because I trusted my pricing at the time that I priced it. What's your strategy on some of those long tail items that sit around for a long time?
Yeah, I think we're a little spoiled with our space because we have, we're not restricted on our space really. So it's not really all that important for us to make room for new stuff. Like we have the space to, once it goes into inventory, we're not pressed to pull it out after 6 months or a year or whatever and try to find a space for it. So that does help allow us to just keep things sitting on eBay. for the most part, we do run a 10% off sale on all of our items, but that's for everything that hits from the get go. And then we take offers as they come in, and we'll take more aggressive offers if an item's been on our store for a long time. So if it starts to get, 6 months to a year, we'll take a more aggressive offer. But we do have items that have been around for a couple years, and those things still sell. I mean, we still get offers on stuff that, and now like eBay has this deal when an offer pops up, it tells you how many days it's been on the site. And sometimes I've seen like 400 days, 500 days, and I'm like, get rid of it. Somebody sent an offer, let's sell it, get rid of it.
So I know you guys cross list. Do you guys not do the strategy of delisting and relisting items since you're seeing 400 or 500 days?
Yeah. No,
Stuff like that.
for a long time, there was a time a couple years ago that I would look at the items that were ending for that day, and I would go in and I'd end them early, like maybe a few hours before they ended, because eBay does the 30-day end and they'll relist. And I would tinker with the title, or maybe I'd change a picture or the price or whatever, and then I'd just relist them for that day. And it started to become, our store started to get big enough where it was like, I might have 100 of those to do, and then it would get to be 150 or 200. And it's like, okay, there wasn't enough time to delist them myself, tinker with them, and then put them back. And I figured if you're going to take the time to take them down and just put them back, like you should at least change something either in the title or an item specific, like taking it off the shelf, putting it back on the shelf. And, it's really not doing much. So, but it got to be to the point where it just was too much work to do that on a daily basis. So we just let them ride, and then we'll take aggressive offers if they come in on stuff. And in order to keep our antique mall booth full, because we probably have 5 clothing racks out there, maybe 4. But anyway, we'll fill that up, on a monthly basis. We might pull 50 or 70 items, our oldest stuff, and pull those out. Or we'll, if they had like a little flaw and we listed it anyway, that's stuff that's been around for a couple years. We'll pull that off eBay, and then we'll tag it and take it out to the antique mall booth and give it a chance to sell out there. And everything really between those two options, old eBay and antique mall, we haven't had to really do anything with old items. They all eventually do sell.
Pretty much went through the same phase where I was manually delisting and relisting stuff when I was smaller. Yeah. Then it got to the point where it was just a whole nother extra job. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm already maxed on time. But then when I started using Nifty, and you can kind of set it up in the background to do it for you. Now it doesn't edit the title for me or anything, but I have it lower the price 1% every time it does. So it kind of changes something a little bit. But I was the same way.
See if that'll work. Because we'd use Nifty. I just don't know if I need to look into that feature and see if that's something we should do.
It's in the automation tab, because if you're on Poshmark, do you do the sharing and all that stuff as well?
No, I haven't ever done that. And that probably is something else that we should do to help Poshmark.
That's very important from my understanding on Poshmark, to share and like and share other people's stuff. And you can automate all that through Nifty where you don't ever have to touch it.
I'm such a newbie at Nifty, even though we've had it for a few months. I just used it to go in, and honestly, I just click on the Poshmark list now, and that's about it.
My strategy, I list on eBay, which it sounds like you're listing on eBay as well, and then syncing it in. I don't use any of their accounting stuff or their AI listing tools, so I'm guilty of not using all their features, but I might have checking those automation features. It sends my I like to control my eBay offers manually, but I have it set up if somebody likes something on Poshmark, 15 minutes later after they like it, it will send them a 10% off offer.
Okay. So I need to look into that, because that's probably why our Poshmark's not, it's okay. We're getting a couple a day, but sometimes it is slow, and I'm like, it should be a lot better than that for having as many on there as we do.
I think the automation's extremely important on Poshmark, because I think that's built into their algorithm, because they want it to be more like a social platform where you're sharing and liking other people's stuff, and you can just set up Nifty to do all that. I don't even open the Poshmark app unless somebody sends me an offer. So because it does all of it for you. So it's something worth looking into. Because
for sure, I'll probably do that.
So just from talking to you guys, I know you're not satisfied with where you're at, and you're $500,000 and you want to get bigger. just because I get that vibe from you.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're already listing 60 a day. Do you have time you're eventually going to hit a point where you're listing 60 a day, but maybe selling 65 a day, or listing 60 a day and selling 70 a day if you keep growing. It's inevitable. Do you have time in your day to up it? Like to keep the growth?
Man.
Like, what's your growth strategy?
Because
I'm getting to the same point in my life too. So
we have a lot of conversations in the car when we go sourcing about, because we're just riding for a couple hours. So it's like, how, what is the next step?
Yeah. We've thought about, discussed employees, the pros and cons of that. We've kind of looked at offsite places, so that if we did have employees, we wouldn't have them come into our house, and what that would look like and how to really maximize that. Or is the other strategy to buy higher priced items that sell for more, less work for us? So we haven't decided yet. We are still in the phase of, pros and cons of an employee. Does that make sense with sort of the growing pains of that? Is that going to maximize the profit or not? Eventually it would, but
there's a lot of questions. Like, we've never had an employee. We've never hired anybody to do anything. So it's just been both of us. And I think probably one of the disadvantages of that is just the amount of control that we have over every single thing that happens in the business is under our watch and under our control. And that's probably a disadvantage because, bringing someone in, it's very difficult to loosen your mindset up a little bit about having someone else involved, touching your inventory, trusting them to ship something out, or trusting them to buy something or take pictures, because right now it's all on us, and we hold each other accountable for that stuff. So probably one of the things that would need to happen is looking at employees, and then, like Amy was talking about, where do we have them work? Do we open up like a commercial space? And if that's the case, do we have more than one employee? Like, these are all the questions that we go over personally in the car. And it's like, what makes it worth it if you have a commercial space? Instead of hiring one employee, maybe you hire 2 or 3, and you don't just add on some items, you like multiply the number of items that you're putting out there. And then that gives us more time to go and source. Because I think, honestly, if we devoted more time to sourcing, we probably could come up with enough stuff to list 100 plus a day, but there's not enough time throughout the rest of the week to get it processed, pictured, listed. And then, one thing that's, a big part of our time is shipping. I'm spending, a couple hours sometimes on the weekdays. If we have a 50 item sale day, it might be a couple hours to pick, pack, and ship all that stuff. And then if we have 150 items sell over the weekend, it's a 4-hour afternoon on Sunday. So like, there's a lot of time to commit to increasing that number beyond just having 60 a day. All of a sudden you're selling more, there's more to process, everything gets increased. So it's a lot to balance.
Understandably. I was hoping you guys would have the answer for me, because that was one question I was really looking forward to hearing, if you guys had it all figured out, because my strategy is similar. I list a dollar amount a day. So if I sell less than $1,000 the day before, the next day I'm listing $1,000. But if I do like 1340 the day before, I list 1,400. So I'm just always growing the dollar amount of my account every single day. But there's going to be a day where trying to grow my dollar amount every single day is just going to hit a point where I can't do it all. Because if I sell it, like Monday I had to do $2,000 because on Sunday I did 1,940 or something. So not only did I have to ship the $1,940 worth of sales the day before, then I had to go and list $2,000 after I was done shipping. And
you need
there's going to be eventually a breaking point.
Yeah, you need like a 2 or 3 day trailing period there where you're doing like what you sold 2 days prior to that. So when you have the big sale day, the next day you can do all your shipping, but yet your requirement for what you list is still a day behind.
And then Wednesday in my area, there's a big local flea market. And then at the end of the flea market, there's an auction. And so Wednesday, I only work like in the afternoon. So I got back and got my shipping done right before the mailman got there. But I only hit like $125 of my $1,000 listing goal. So the day my listing goal was to finish up what I missed the day before
There
and
you
then
go.
do the day's listing goal.
Yeah.
So
Add it on.
it's getting to the point where like there's going to be a breaking point one day and I haven't figured out how I'm going to cover it myself. So I was hoping you guys have the answer for me.
I think like, in a perfect world, we'd have, a big warehouse and, multiple picture stations with people taking pictures and doing listings, and we'd be outsourcing, and, maybe we have other people sourcing for us and sending us stuff. But that's a completely different business model than where we're at. Not that we couldn't get there, but it's something on a different level. And, maybe there's an iteration of that between where we're at now and to that point. But also like things always change. eBay always changes, the different platforms are changing. The bar to entering reselling, is probably at an all-time low with AI being available, and the amount of folks be starting to resell is, I think, probably growing. So, there's always changes there. And so you're trying to kind of predict, what does a year from now look like? What does 3 years look like from now? Can you sell clothes in the same volume that we're doing now at that point? Or is it going to be one of those things where, you can throw a shirt up in front of a camera and it, takes a 360-degree photo and the listing immediately gets listed, and, maybe that's all there is to the workflow. So
Experimented with employees once, and I hired 2 of them, and my plan was to make them listers because my shipping can be kind of difficult because I may sell the grill off a Ford F-150, and then something that could just go in a padded envelope, and somebody new, and it's hard to teach shipping when you're all over the place.
yeah.
One of them wasn't kind of like at the beginning, I taught him how to list and I understood like for a month, you're not going to kind of hit my goals. But after about a month, I thought 10 an hour was reasonable. One wasn't even coming close. So it was costing me money to have her there. The one was decent, but I think the mistake I made I had him doing was I had him listing on a phone. I bought a second phone and had him listing on the app, just like I list, because I figured that'd be the quickest way to teach somebody is how I list myself. Well, the whole time she's listing, my 90-day totals right there on the app. And she just came in one day and said, I think I'm going to just sell my own stuff. So she pretty much got paid on the job training to go start her own eBay store. So
Hopefully she's not selling the same stuff you are.
I kind of peek in at her eBay store every once in a while, and she's not up there yet. So
there you go. That's good.
When you did have her, were you paying by the hour or per listing?
I was paying by the hour because that's what she wanted. I kind of set them both down and pitched 2 different options to them and let them choose, because in an ideal world, I wanted to pay them like $1 a listing and then like 15% of whatever it sold. Whatever they listed, if it sold, they could get 15% of it, which you could make a lot of money that way if you wanted to be a savage and list a bunch, but both of them wanted the safe hourly rate. And so.
Yeah, that's a good incentive though. If they wanted to do a percentage, and that's a good motivator to really pick
like
up and go.
Someone like you, if they came in and wanted to list 60 shirts in a day, and you got 60 they got up to 10 an hour or whatever, and it gets $10 an hour plus a commission on the back end of it. That could end up being pretty good money if they wanted to.
Yeah, it's having the thought of employees is really it sounds great, and I think that we could really use extra help. I think it would allow us to increase what we're doing, obviously, but then there's that time of training, and sometimes I think in my own mind I am probably unrealistic in thinking how much more someone would add, and for someone to be able to walk in and instantly be able to do 20 or 30 listings is probably unrealistic, and it took me a long time to learn how to do that, so it would take anybody some time to get familiar with the process. So
what's nice with what you guys sell is you could probably get by with hiring a shipper. because it isn't like they're bubble wrapping stuff or boxing different size stuff. I'm gonna guess most of your stuff goes in a poly bag or
Yeah,
something like that. So
probably like 95%. We do have some boxes, and usually that's just if somebody buys multiple items. You know, if they buy 5 shirts, then usually I throw it in a box or something.
And you get those free from Poshmark.
Yeah, I have. So we did sell at the very beginning some hard goods that reminds me of you. I sold at an auction one time. We bought, remember that washing machine part? I bought this like control panel to a washing machine, and the only saving grace about it was it came in a box that fit like from the factory. And I was like, I was worried the whole time after that thing sold, and I'm like, man, I hope this box holds up. And it was pretty soon after that. You know, we sold some board games and stuff, and board games always come in like the weirdest shaped boxes. Like they're real thin, but then they're super long. And like, man, that stuff kind of turned me off to trying to ship any weird shaped stuff. She bought this weird thing at a
CD Funky Cat.
Yeah, this thrift store one time is like this retro 90s CD holder, and it was about, I don't know, 3 foot tall, and it was this wire. It was in the shape of a cat, but it held like 20 CDs, and then its tail wrapped around. So it's like really long. I mean, it doesn't look like much, but it was really long and just awkwardly shaped. And that thing sold one day, and I didn't have a box for it. And that's probably the most anxiety-inducing situation you can have, is when you sell something and you don't have the right box. And
the same morning we sold a set of 3 Pyrex bowls too. So like I roll over and I'm like, "Hey, time to get up!" And he's already up looking at his phone, and he's already freaking out. He's
this was like a Friday morning.
We got to go dumpster diving.
It was like a Friday morning, and I was still working full time, so I had to leave the house by 8 o'clock to go to work. And these things had to get out that day. And I'm like, I don't have a box for this cat, and I don't have a box for these Pyrex bowls.
In all fairness, he was mad about the cat from the second I stuck it in the car.
But it did end up selling for like $200. So it was a good flip.
Worth the hassle, yeah.
But I did have to go. We had some box recycling places in town where people just dump off their boxes because they didn't get picked up curbside. And so it was a really good place to go find some boxes. So I did have to go out that morning and find some boxes. And it was some work, but that turned, you know, throwing shirts in a poly mailer is pretty mindless. Yep. You don't have to think too much about that.
Like I said, you could probably get a well-trained monkey to do your shipping Sundays for you if you need an employee.
Yeah. I can come out here and kind of be half asleep.
People think I'm crazy because I stock 20 different size of boxes right now.
I saw your video where you're
I don't want to be in that situation where I have to go like dumpster. Like if I'm done dumpster diving for 1 box for the day, that's 10 listings probably in that same time. And so you guys know, like those 10 listings could be $1,000 worth of listings, and I'm out looking for a $3 box to put my item in. So every once in a while, I have to go to like a Home Depot or something and get a box, but most of the time I'm pretty covered. So we know where you're at now and where you want to be. And you mentioned you used to do estate cleanouts. So how'd you get from estate cleanouts to what you're doing now? Like, what's that progression look like?
That's a good question. We started going. I don't think I'd ever even been to an estate sale until around COVID time, where there was some. We noticed we were out garage sailing, I think, one day, and came across an estate sale sign. And I don't know, had you been to some before? We'd never been to an estate. I didn't even know what they were. And I guess because they just weren't real common. We were both from small towns, and so I don't ever remember seeing estate sales. But the town that we live in now is a little bit bigger, and so we went. And it's just like a big garage sale inside this house. And I was like, well, this is crazy. And we had moved into our house pretty recently after that, or right around that time. And so there was things that, you know, we needed, you know, different tools and just stuff around the house. And it's like, we can get stuff here. And pretty soon we just started going every week because there was a couple different companies in town and they'd have different sales. And not long after that, we opened our first antique mall booth because our house filled up with stuff that we didn't really need, but it was fun to buy it at the estate sale. And then we were like, well, what are we going to do with this stuff? We need a place to get rid of it. And we were really scared to start an antique mall booth because I think the rent on our first one was $160 a month. I was like, what if we buy a bunch of stuff and we pay this rent and nothing sells? because I really thought that like nobody bought stuff at the antique mall booth, the stuff that we liked, which was like, I had a Ninja Turtle and we had some collector's glasses and some weird looking vases and stuff like that. But we ended up doing pretty well at the antique mall booth. But in the meantime, we kept going to the estate sales and we ran into the owners and we'd talk to them and make friends with them. And eventually I think we got a call one night from one of the owners of one of the companies locally. And they were like, "Hey, we were thinking about you guys. We know that you like to buy a lot of stuff and we know that you sell stuff in your antique mall booths. Would you be interested in doing a clean out?" And we kind of knew that was the process. They had other cleaners that would come in and basically just empty out the house of the stuff that didn't sell. And I always kind of thought like there was a fee associated with that where the clean out team had to pay. But this particular one said, no, just the only caveat is you have to take everything, even if it's trash. And so we kind of talked about it and decided to do it. On the first one, I don't even really remember about this first one that we did.
The first one's pretty good.
We got some pretty decent stuff at the first couple of them, I remember. Not a ton of trash, some good stuff that was left over that was resellable. We sold a lot of the stuff on Facebook Marketplace, took a lot of stuff out to the antique mall booth. We really weren't very much into eBay at that point because our antique mall booths were doing pretty well. We had grown
from 1
there.
to 9.
We ended up having 9, which some of them were like
you guys do everything big.
Yeah.
That's why we're scared to get employees, actually.
Maybe. Like a couple of them were shelved, booths like around the peripheral of the mall. But it ended up being like 9 total places we were paying rent on. I think our rent was $1,500 a month out there, but we were selling, I think we've sold $5,000 or $6,000 a month, there for a while. So it was going really good, and we did the clean out. I had a truck and a little utility trailer, like this 8-foot trailer, and we just made a couple trips and emptied everything out. Called the smash room for stuff that we couldn't get rid of, and but it filled up our garage, and it was a ton of work. And I could equate it to, I've heard a lot of folks talk about being cleaning out or buying storage units, and I think it's pretty similar to that, with the difference of most of the real good, nice stuff has already gone from the estate sale because it's already
so
been
maybe
bought.
Worse.
This is like the stuff that didn't sell at 50 or 75% off.
Well, and you never knew, like, it was so hard to plan for because you could get people to come, pay people to come help you move the stuff out, but you never knew if it was, if you get 3 or 4 guys and you're paying them and there's nothing left, then you're paying for nothing. And so one of the last ones we went in, we did like a walkthrough, 2 or 3 hours before it ended to see kind of what was left. And there was this baby grand piano, and we were both like, how?
Oh, it was so heavy and big. And we started talking to the owners that day, and I was like, hey, if this thing doesn't sell, like, it'd be great to take, but we're literally going to have to hire a whole moving crew to either disassemble it or something. I mean, it's not something that fits out of a doorway. And the estate sale company, like, time's of the essence, like, they want to be done with it. So we had to have it out that afternoon. So it was just really difficult logistically to get that out. And luckily the homeowner was, good with keeping the piano. They were going to give it to family or whatever. But then we started thinking like, okay, if that is what could happen, then maybe we ought to reconsider.
Well, in the very last one we went, and it was a three-story house, and
that was pretty tough.
We went to go do a walkthrough beforehand, and we were both like, I mean, even if 20% of the stuff is left, how are he and I going to get it? And I mean, you go in and you throw stuff in there. You basically pack and go in like 2 hours. And
there was 3 levels of this house, and normally they had different crews for different size houses. Like, they used us for anything pretty small, like maybe it was just a condo unit or like a 2-bedroom small, duplex or whatever. But this one, I don't know if their crew backed out or what, but they're like, hey, it's a bigger house, but you might come look at it. And we're looking at this. I mean, there's big, heavy furniture in every one of the 5 bedrooms in the basement. And I'm like,
it would have been really great.
Oh, we'd have made a ton, but it would have taken a week to move that stuff out. And, we're not I'm not like 20 years old or anything either.
No.
I mean, I moved a bunch of stuff. I'm pretty much cooked for the next couple days.
Sounds like you should have been billing the estate sale companies to remove
You
the
know,
stuff for them.
one of the nicest, they priced this like antique hutch with this. It was like a buffet and a hutch, and it was a really nice piece. It had glass doors and everything, and they had $1,000 on it. It didn't end up selling at the estate sale, and we ended up selling that thing for about $400 on Marketplace. So there was some things, it wasn't all like that, but there was, several good tools and different power tools that would show up, some furniture that would show up, and we could, we made decent money on Marketplace doing that. But, again, with like everything, there's a lot of trash that we had to take. And so sometimes we'd have a decent bill at the dump to get rid of it or whatever. But it was a lot of work. And that was about the time that our antique mall booths were kind of at the peak. And we had talked to a couple folks, at an auction. And she was one of the women who was related to the auctioneer was telling us that she sells on eBay. And I'd always dabbled in eBay a little bit, selling a few things here and there, but never really all that serious. And she told me that she had 2,000 listings on eBay. And I was like, that's crazy. There's no way. I was like, where do you keep everything? She's like, oh, just in my basement. And I'm like, we could do that. 2,000 items. And I think she told me how much she was making and this and that. And I'm like, oh, we could probably do that. And so it wasn't too long after that, we started making listings, and we kind of just started. We went to the antique mall booth and we pulled some older items out there and thought we could sell those. And we were doing a lot of hard goods. We didn't really do very much clothes. We cleaned out a few things in our closet. Those sold pretty well. And then from there, we were like, well, there's clothes at every thrift store, like you said earlier, and they're easy to find. We just have to figure out what sells. And that's where we started watching a lot of YouTube and different resellers to try to figure out what was what, come up with a process. Our stuff was so crazy at the beginning. We'd throw a shirt down on the floor, on the ottoman in the bedroom. Like, the lighting's terrible. We didn't know how to list it. And we got better over time, but
It was the same way when I first started. I was going to the Goodwill bins a lot. And I don't know about your bins, but ours, they bring bins out, and then at the hour, they pull them all off and put new ones out. So you'd have time to dig through them, and then you'd have like 20, 30 minutes before the new ones come out. I would sit there and list on the floor at the Goodwill outlet everything minus my SKU, and I'd save it as a draft, and then all I have to do is get back and draft it, and my pictures looked horrible. Like, I made the same mistakes of, same crappy pictures and stuff like that. So I went through those same issues. So
we went to the bins a few times. I remember the first time we went, we had no idea what to expect. We'd watch some YouTube folks talk about the bins, and we weren't sure if we were getting ready to go into a fist fight or if it was going to be a pleasant experience. It wasn't bad once we got through it, but they made it out to seem like it was going to be a negative experience.
With your guys' lofty listing goals, I don't think you'd find enough quality items daily at the bins to hit your goal. And then you got to factor in the time you have to spend at the bins all day to get that many quality items. I think it's a good part-time to maybe full-time, but not have the lofty goals like you guys do. But I think it'd be hard for you guys to use the bins as a source.
We've figured that out.
Yeah.
The bins are a big time commitment. There's you can hit some home runs at the bins. You can find stuff, raw donations that may come in, and, you might find, thousands of dollars, $1,000 item in the bin, where that's pretty tough to do at the racks because there's almost certainly somebody else has come through before you and looked at that item. And then when you're at the racks in the store, you're really relying on your own knowledge to be better than the person before you. And, hopefully they've passed over it and leaves it, they left it for you to pick up and you have the knowledge of what it is. But at the bins, it's a whole different deal because you may be the first person to put eyes on an item that, is a $500 or $1,000 item. It definitely can happen. But the amount of time spent to get that versus, maybe you find a $100 item at the bins, and in the same amount of time I found $10 or, $5 $20 items at the rack. So it kind of works out to be the same.
I agree. Like you may go to the bins 10 times before you find one $100 item. So, and you're usually there hours at a time to try to find that item, and it's
Yeah.
Clothes
just
are
not a good good use of time.
Yeah.
the physical. I'm probably just out of shape, but like going to the bins is a physical exertion too. Like it's one thing to walk down the rack and just look at clothes, but like
Mhm.
you go to the bins and you're really having to dig through stuff. And
Oh yeah.
after about an hour and a half, I'm shot. I'm over it. So
I used to go, and now I never dug on the clothes side. Ours always keeps the clothes on one side and the wares on the other. So I don't have a lot of experience on the clothes side, obviously, but I used to go back in the day. I just figured out that I can't reach my goals by going there every day. So
for the folks
I'll make
that
a
do it
video.
though, for the folks that do it though, it's awesome because they can find some great stuff.
Yeah.
They see a lot of stuff, and there's some folks out there killing it that basically just source at the bins.
I have friends that I've made at the bins who are people I consider my good friends today, who I'll still go meet up and go to dinner with or go meet up for drinks, or people I've met at the bins. So
Yeah,
made a lot of friends there from when I used to go there. I just couldn't get to the level I want to be at now
for
by
sure.
going there every day. So obviously you guys both had jobs before. I know what you guys did, but I'm not the audience of the podcast. So what did you guys do before, and when did you decide it was time to make the leap from part-time to full-time? Because this is a question I get in my DMs personally all the time. How do I know? I get guys sending me screenshots of their numbers and be like, can I go full-time yet? And I'm like, that number don't tell me anything. So when
Yeah.
did you know it was time to quit your job and go full-time?
Well, so I'll let Amy tell her story about what she did before we were resellers.
I was a police officer in Columbia for 20 years, and thankfully, when I got hired, my department had a 20-year pension, so I did my
Nice.
20 in a day, and got my pension and got to retire. So after that, I did get a full-time job at a major company in town in safety and security. I was a safety and security analyst. Hated it. Great company. They take great care of their employees. My job was basically to sit with a concealed weapon in case there was an active intruder. And they gave free snacks. So I ate a lot of free snacks because I was bored, gained 30 pounds, hated life. It wasn't the job for me. So shortly thereafter, we started doing this. And I was full-time at it probably about a year before he was. And, somewhere in between that year, we really decided that we could make it a go. And he did the numbers and stayed where he was at for a while.
Yeah. So, yeah, she probably it would have been like 2024.
Yep.
She started kind of doing it basically full time at that point. Like she didn't have her full time job anymore at that point, right? Was it 24? Maybe 23?
22, 23. I
Somewhere
tried real
in there.
estate for
Yeah.
a short time. It wasn't for me either.
But anyway, somewhere in that range, she was doing it. She was basically working full time while I still had a full time job. I think it must have been like 2023, sometime in there. And that's really that was about 6 months after we kind of started eBay, and we started to see some growth pretty quickly on eBay. But we really spent the next, from all of 23 and all of 24, building eBay. And probably midway through 24, I started to have the thought like this could potentially turn into a full-time job because just the way our growth was looking and our numbers every month. And then probably, I would say in the summer of 24, that's when the idea started to take a foothold. And Amy and I talked, we talk a lot. And I was like, if our numbers through the fall and we get to the end of 2024, everything looks good, then I think at the beginning of 2025, which we knew January, February tends to be our slowest time of year. If we get through that time of year and our numbers from 2024 look good, I'll put in my notice at my full-time job, which I was a regional director of a local nonprofit transportation company. I worked in the office and had, I supervised about 50 drivers and 10 office staff between two different offices. And our region covered 15 counties in central Missouri. It was a great job, and it was very stressful. I had a lot of responsibilities and had a lot of people calling me at different times of day, with different stuff. But this reselling was building at the whole time I was doing that job, and there was just this constant thought in my mind that if this could turn into a full-time thing, the sky's kind of the limit on how much we could make. And I was a salary employee, and we got raises and cost of living adjustments and stuff, but there's always kind of that ceiling where it's like, no matter how much more you do, this is what your paycheck's going to be. And with reselling, it was like, if we did more, if we posted more, we sold more, like that paycheck could be even bigger. So that thought just festered for a long time. And at the end of 2024, our numbers looked really solid. We got through January and February, and I put in my notice to leave my job at the end of January of 25. My last day was the end of February of 2025, and March 1st of 25 was when we started. Both of us became, well, she already was, but I was full-time on that day. So yeah, that's kind of how that came into be. So it was really kind of a long runway. And, I talked about it. I put a video out on our YouTube channel about questions that you should ask yourself if you're considering becoming a full-time reseller. And one of the things I talked about in there was just give yourself plenty of runway. And I've talked to some folks who are like, yeah, my numbers looked good 3 months ago, and now I'm considering quitting my job. And it's like, do you have a year or 2 years worth of numbers or even more to look and see what your store is going to be doing, year over year or month to month? Do you know your slow times of the year? Can you base all of that stuff off when your store is doing well versus when it's not doing well? And I think the smart thing that we did was just give ourselves, a full 18 months runway to make sure everything looked right before we decided to give up a full-time job and do this reselling full-time. Looking back on it, I wouldn't have changed really anything timing wise. I don't feel like I did it too soon. I don't feel like I did it too late. I hate to say that I was right about it, but I really felt like we were spot on. And we were at a point where, from the time I quit, we were able to almost immediately increase our listing goals. We started selling more that spring. That continued through all of fall of last year. We had our slowdown in January, February again. And then, from March through now, it's really picked up again. And we've seen that growth year over to year. And our store continues to grow. Our numbers grow. At some point, we'll plateau out or we'll even out unless we, take that jump and have employees and a bigger warehouse and all that. But I think for someone considering quitting or going full time, they really got to give themselves some time to work out what those numbers look like before they take that jump, because it's a huge decision.
Every reseller that I know who's doing this full time and doing it at a high level had a long runway. And I think a lot of people think they can just quit their job and jump right into it.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to build a store up to generate the kind of revenue you need to replace your old salary. So I think you did it perfectly. Well, we just passed the hour mark, and a lot of people don't know this. I was a reserve sheriff deputy for a year in my county back when I was 21, so almost 20 years ago. And just me working part-time for a year, 1 day a week, I gathered a bunch of fun stories. So I thought it'd be cool if Amy could share like a fun cop story with us as we close it out. Because I know at 20 years she has to have at least one good, juicy, fun story.
Probably a couple in there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Well, one of my best friends at work, on my anniversary, we always had this saying with the Wienermobile, the Ostermeyer Wienermobile.
Yeah.
So it's actually, it does not originate. Thank you. Originate in Columbia, but they get a lot of drivers from the J school, or the journalism school university. So one of my best buddies that I worked with, she was another sergeant. She somehow wrote the Wienermobile a letter and got us a ride along for it. And so he'll have to,
I wonder if there's a picture.
He's going to try to find a picture of it. So The best part is, so we're going down the road. I'm setting, it's called shotgun or shotgunning because it's shotgun, but it's the Wienermobile, so it's
Yeah,
bun.
yeah, it's
So I'm in the
bun,
front
yeah.
seat. Full uniform. I'm in the front seat. She's in the back. Full uniform as well. So we're at this intersection, stopped at a red light, and this tweaker, he was this meth guy that was driving along. He was pulled up parallel to us, and he's jamming along. There was no music, but there must have been music in his head. So he's jamming along, and he looks over at us and looks back, and the look on his face, and he looks over, and just like you could see just the white in his eyes from.
I don't know if you can see that very well, but
I can see it. It's coming through.
Yeah.
there you
It's
go.
probably the most fun that I've ever had.
Yeah.
Still to date, not even just to work.
I bet you guys had a good laugh.
Oh my gosh, we laughed so hard for the whole entire ride along. So,
So, tell everyone where they can find you on all your social media platforms.
So we're Cougars Corner on Facebook and YouTube, and Cougars Corner store on Instagram, and Cougars Corner on TikTok. So we're most active on Facebook and YouTube.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to do this because I know you're busy and you got 60 items to list here in the morning. So,
Well, hey, thanks for having us on. It was a lot of fun, and appreciate it. Appreciate having us on here.
thanks, Sean.
okay. Thank you.
See ya.
All right, see you guys.
Sean's Fine Show. Sean's Fine Show.